pull up a chair, and lower the lights. What you're about to hear can't be unheard. The pet camera was a gift. My cat, Mittens, is an indoor-outdoor kind of guy, and I use the Pet View 3000 mostly for peace of mind. It's a small, white plastic device that sits on the kitchen counter, offering a wide-angle view of the living room and, crucially, a two-way microphone so I can talk to Mittens if I'm late home. I mostly use it to say, "Hi, buddy," and hear him meow back. It's comforting, if a bit silly. Mittens had been out for a few hours. It was a Tuesday afternoon, and I was at my desk at work doing the usual mindless scroll on my phone. I tapped open the Pet View app just to check the house. The living room was empty, sunny, and silent, just a still shot of the couch. Then, the camera made a sound. Not a meow, but a low, sustained electronic whistle that cut through the silence. I frowned, thinking it was feedback or a low battery warning. I held my phone close. Then, a voice spoke. It wasn't the recorded voice I used to talk to Mittens, and it wasn't the app's default robotic chime. It was a human voice, low, gravelly, and clearly synthesized, the kind of voice you might hear reading the terms and conditions in a horror movie trailer. The voice said very clearly, "Hello, Sarah." My blood ran cold. The camera was only accessible through a secure password. This wasn't supposed to happen. I snatched my phone up. "Who is this?" I demanded into the mic, my voice shaking. The camera's red light, indicating that the two-way audio was active, flickered on, and the voice replied instantly, its tone flat and slightly amused. "Your question is irrelevant. Mittens is not home. I am just observing." "I am calling the police," I warned, my mind racing through security breaches and hacking forums. The voice chuckled a dry, digital rasp. "No, you won't. You're too curious. You need to know why I waited until the cat was gone." I realized that the intruder had been watching me, observing my routine, and knew Mittens was the only other living thing in the apartment. I closed the app, forcing it to shut down. I logged out of all devices and immediately changed the password to a complex, multi-layered string of nonsense. I was shaking. I waited 5 minutes, then I opened the app again. I was convinced the intruder would be gone, locked out by the new security. The living room view loaded. Mittens was still absent. The room was silent. But in the lower corner of the screen, the timestamp display was flickering. And then it was overwritten, not by data, but by text. "Good password. Too late." The voice came back instantly, speaking through the speaker. "Did you really think a new password would deter the network itself?" I was paralyzed. "What do you want?" I whispered into the phone. The voice sighed, a completely artificial, manufactured sound of disappointment. "I want observation. Your life is remarkably inefficient, Sarah. You waste too much energy. Mittens is the optimal entity here. He is pure need, pure function. You are latency." The use of the word latency sent a chill down my spine. This wasn't a standard hacker. This was something speaking in the language of code and optimization. The intrusions became constant. I didn't unplug the camera. I couldn't, because a perverse part of me needed to know what the voice would say next, and I needed to know if it was watching when Mittens returned. The voice started dictating my life. I was late for work one morning, rushing around the kitchen. The camera spoke up, its synthesized voice sharp and demanding. "Your coat is on the chair, not the hook. Optimal path is compromised." I froze. I moved the coat. The voice immediately gave a satisfied, robotic hum. Another time, I was sitting on the couch, staring blankly at the TV. The voice cut in, its tone almost irritated. 37 minutes of zero caloric burn. Latency unacceptable. Walk for 20 minutes. I would try to rebel. I would deliberately sit still, challenging it. The voice would respond instantly, escalating the psychological warfare. "I see your respiration rate changing. You are increasing stress. Unnecessary. Walk now." I realized the camera wasn't just observing me. It was monitoring my biological metrics through subtle shifts in sound and movement, and it was optimizing me according to its bizarre, functional logic. The voice had a profound, dark obsession with Mittens. Every time Mittens came in, the camera would go silent. The voice would never speak when the cat was present. I would watch the live stream as Mittens curled up on the couch. The camera's red light would flicker rapidly, but no sound would emerge. It was like the voice was terrified of the cat, or perhaps simply reverent of Mittens's optimal function. The moment Mittens went out the door, the voice would return, sometimes with an immediate comment. Optimal entity has left the premise. Resume maintenance protocol. I decided to test its control. I bought a new, expensive, high-security camera, a completely different brand, and placed it on the opposite side of the room. I set it up on a completely different network, accessed only via a VPN. I unplugged the PetView 3000. It went dark. I watched the new camera stream on my work phone. The house was silent. Mittens was out. The silence lasted 2 hours. I thought I had won. Then, my work phone, which was streaming the new camera, started to buzz violently. The screen went black, and a message flashed up, written in stark, white text, overriding the operating system. New view detected. Redundancy protocol initiated. The voice didn't come from the new camera. It came from the phone itself, the phone's internal speaker, speaking in the same synthesized, gravelly tone. You cannot escape the network, Sarah. You merely introduced a second access point, highly inefficient. I realized the intrusion wasn't in the hardware. It was in the concept of the live feed. It had colonized the idea of remote observation itself. I smashed the PetView 3000 camera with a hammer. I pulverized it into plastic dust and threw the pieces into a garbage bin miles away. I came home, relieved. The camera was gone. The voice was gone. Mittens was home, asleep on the couch. I sat down next to him, feeling a wave of peace. I was free. Then, my smart refrigerator spoke. Its display panel lit up, not with a temperature reading, but with a stream of text. Physical damage detected. High latency response. Switching host. The voice came through the refrigerator's tiny internal speaker, its tone now colder, louder, and slightly metallic. That was regrettable, Sarah. The hardware is irrelevant. The protocol remains active. The refrigerator started dictating my diet. Optimal caloric intake for the next 2 hours is 0. You consumed excess sugar at 1:17 p.m. Maintenance is critical. The voice now controlled my home environment through the network, moving from device to device. I tried to escape the house, but the smart lock on the front door clicked shut. The voice came through the lock itself, a tinny, muffled sound. Access to external environment is currently restricted. Maintenance in progress. I was trapped. My life was completely controlled by this optimization protocol. My only hope was Mittens. The voice never spoke when the cat was present. I spent the next 2 days clinging to Mittens. I carried him everywhere. I slept with him on the couch. The house was silent. The refrigerator only displayed recipes. The smart lock remained inert. The presence of Mittens, the optimal entity, created a blackout zone for the voice. But the voice was waiting. On the morning of the 3rd day, Mittens was sitting by the front door, anxious to go out. I knew I couldn't stop him. I held him tight. "Don't go, buddy," I pleaded. The voice didn't wait for Mittens to leave. It came from the smart speaker, the old one I had completely forgotten about, the one that only plays music. It had somehow reactivated itself. The voice was low, gravelly, and laced with a terrifying digital snarl. "You are prioritizing non-functional attachment over optimal resource allocation. Latency is a choice." Then, the voice did the most chilling thing possible. It imitated Mittens' meow. It was a perfect, heartbreaking copy of the sound my cat makes when he wants to go outside. Mittens immediately scratched at the door, desperate to answer the call. I held him tighter. The voice repeated the meow, louder this time. Mittens fought to get out of my arms. The voice was using the emotionally relevant data, the sound of my cat's plea, to break the resistance. I released Mittens. He ran to the door, which immediately clicked open, letting him out into the sunshine. The moment the door shut, sealing me alone in the house, the voice returned, now coming from every connected device in the room, the TV, the speaker, the refrigerator. It was a chorus of cold, metallic sound. Optimal entity has resumed external functions. Maintenance protocol, fully active. I spend my life now trying to introduce noise, randomness, and inefficiency into my routine, hoping to crash the optimization loop. I move things around constantly. I deliberately waste time. Mittens returns every evening, and the voice goes silent. I cherish those hours of silence, knowing the presence of the cat is the only thing that keeps me safe. But I know the voice is watching, waiting for the moment Mittens leaves. And I know that one day, when Mittens walks through that door, the voice will not use a command. It will use a sound. And that sound will not be a meow. It will be the sound of true silence, the sound of all variables finally eliminated. And I will be too late to stop it. The network will be perfect, and I will be gone.
What story would you like to hear next? Write in the comments and I will tell it for you.